Welcome to another episode of Money, Mystery, and Madness. Today, we're diving into the life of Nick Reiner, a man born into privilege, raised in the spotlight, yet haunted by demons that would follow him into adulthood and culminate in one of the most shocking tragedies in recent Hollywood history. From the heights of celebrity family life to the darkest corners of addiction and mental illness, Nick's story is a haunting reminder that fame and fortune can't shield anyone from the consequences of untreated struggles. Despite growing up around success, his father directed classics like This Is Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, and The Princess Bride, and his mother was deeply involved in creative work. Nick's journey was turbulent from his teens onward. He began using drugs at a young age, eventually developing an addiction that would dominate much of his life. By the age of 15, he was already in his first rehabilitation program, and over the years, he cycled through numerous stints in rehab facilities, sometimes voluntarily, but often under pressure from family who desperately wanted to help him find stability. His substance abuse and mental health struggles led to periods of homelessness, episodes of profound instability, and relationship strain within the family that was as public as it was private. In 2015, Nick and his father attempted to turn his struggle into something artistic and meaningful. They collaborated on a semi-autobiographical film titled Being Charlie, directed by Rob Reiner and co-written by Nick. The movie told the story of a young man wrestling with addiction and the complicated dynamic he shares with his father. While it wasn't a literal retelling of Nick's life, it drew heavily from his lived experiences and offered a rare glimpse into how the addiction and recovery cycle had impacted him and his family. In interviews at the time, both Nick and Rob spoke about how making the movie brought them closer and allowed them to confront painful issues that had long been simmering under the surface. For a time, it seemed like Nick was trying to carve out a path of recovery. He spoke candidly about his past in interviews, admitting that he had spent nights on the street and survived by sheer luck during his worst periods of homelessness. He acknowledged that addiction had made him difficult to love and had caused deep wounds within his relationships. Yet despite moments of insight and attempts at rehabilitation, the grip of substance abuse and mental health challenges remained powerful forces in his life. Those struggles continued into adulthood, and by 2025, they had taken on a darker and more alarming shape. On December 14th, news broke that Rob Reiner, aged 78, and Michelle Singer Reiner, aged 70, had been found dead inside their Brentwood, Los Angeles home. Authorities quickly determined that both had suffered fatal stab wounds, and within hours, police arrested 32-year-old Nick near the University of Southern California. The incident sent shockwaves through Hollywood and beyond, as fans and colleagues of the Reiners struggled to reconcile the tragic news with the family's long public presence. In the aftermath of the discovery, law enforcement charged Nick Reiner with 2 counts of first-degree murder with special circumstances, including multiple murders and the alleged use of a knife in the killings. Because of the severity of the charges, prosecutors signaled that they might pursue the harshest penalties available under California law. Though the state has a moratorium on executions, a sentence of life in prison without parole remains possible if he is convicted. Nick has not entered a plea, and his arraignment is scheduled for early 2026 as the case slowly moves through the legal system. Since his arrest, more details about Nick's behavior and mental health have emerged, painting a picture of a man whose internal struggles were profound. Reports indicate that Nick had been diagnosed with schizophrenia, in addition to his history of addiction, and that changes to his medication in the weeks before the alleged killings may have contributed to erratic and dangerous behavior. Sources told outlets that he was receiving treatment for both addiction and mental illness, but that the complex interaction between substance use and his psychiatric condition made stability elusive. On the night before his parents were found dead, witnesses say Nick was seen at a holiday party hosted by comedian Conan O'Brien, where his behavior reportedly made guests uneasy and culminated in a heated confrontation with his father. That altercation, though just one snapshot of a long-standing struggle, has become a focal point for many trying to piece together what might have led to this tragic outcome. Friends and acquaintances from earlier chapters of Nick's life have described him as someone who, underneath his pain, could be both funny and deeply troubled. Some remember his dark sense of humor and introverted nature, while others noted that even early on, he seemed to carry emotional weight that was difficult to lighten. These conflicting impressions fit a broader narrative of a person caught between creative potential and the crushing reality of untreated or undertreated mental health issues. The Reiner family tragedy has sparked intense public debate about addiction, mental health care, and how society supports those struggling with chronic illness. Many point to Nick's lifelong battle with drugs and psychological challenges as factors that should have prompted different interventions. Others have questioned how, despite the wealth and resources at his disposal, Nick's life unraveled to such a devastating conclusion. Whatever people's perspectives, there was no escaping the human cost of this story. Two beloved parents are gone, and a son sits in custody facing the gravest of charges. If you found this story compelling, like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more deep dives into shocking Hollywood stories.